4 minutes until showtime. 3 minutes until showtime. 2 minutes until showtime. 1 minute until showtime. 'Your show will go live in 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1.
Election 2024 is over. America has voted, and both sexism and racism have won the day. On Liberal Dan Radio, we will hold everyone accountable, from the media that failed to report the threat that Trump poses to this nation, to the people who supported him. We will pick up the mantle to educate the people about his actions, from being dictator on day one, pardoning January 6th domestic terrorists, implementing Project 2025, and any other draconian measures he tries to pass. And now, the resistance begins. back to Liberal Dan Radio, Talk from the Left. That's right. This is your host, Dan Zimmerman, coming at you from New Orleans, Louisiana. To join the conversation for maybe the last month or two left of Blog Talk Radio, call 914-803-4131. That is 914-803-4131. Or you can join us in the chat room at liberaldanradio.com on the live or twitch.tv/liberaldanradio. We don't usually follow what's going on in the Blog Talk Radio chat room, and nor should we have a reason to, because I got a notification today on my Blog Talk Radio dashboard that Blog Talk Radio is going away. So in January, Blog Talk Radio won't be a thing, so I'll have to implement alternative phone lines if I do want to continue with the phone calls on the show. I do like it. I know how to do it. I got the 21st century suffragettes all hooked up with how to do it, and I just have to implement it for myself now, apparently, if I want to keep doing the phone calls. Guess it was an experiment that is just, I guess, long overdue for it to just go bye-bye into the pale blue light or whatever it is. But until they shut down, 914-803-4131 is the call number. Just make sure to leave your first name and the area code you're calling from in the chat room, either on liberaldanradio.com or twitch.tv/liberaldanradio. That way I know who you are and if you're calling, with the exception of a few who I already know who you are because I recognize you because y'all call in a lot. And I appreciate that you call in a lot because I like having callers. Support the show other ways. Remember to like the stream, subscribe to the channel if you're not already subscribed. Follow over on Twitch, twitch.tv/liberaldanradio. You can gift subscriptions here on YouTube. Get yourself memberships. Get yourself a membership. Become a Liberal Danimal. Little as $2 a month. And there's other options to help out the show more. Patreon.com/liberaldan or patreon.liberaldan.com. Either way will get you there. You can Venmo Twitch as Liberal Dan on Twitch. Or you can go to liberaldan.com, click the Buy Me Cider button, and make another one-time contribution. So that's all the different ways you can support the show. The most important one is just sharing the channel with your friends, commenting on videos, liking videos, just getting those algorithms up. Again, Al Gore needs more rhythm. And what better use to give Al Gore rhythm than to help the show grow? Thanks to Hal Sparks, I've grown a little bit. I got a little jump, maybe about 30 or 40 more people since my last appearance on Hal Sparks' show, which is great. Hopefully we'll be able to keep doing that. We will need to discuss a lot of these things over and over again because the ship has hit the pan, if you want to make it a clean comment, or the shit has hit the fan if you want to use your wordy dirds. So yeah, this has just been a bizarre freaking day. But before we get into all this serious stuff, so on Twitter, or X as Elon Musk wants you to call it, but screw it, it's Twitter. I mean, they still call what you post on Twitter tweets, right? It's not like X messages or something, or X's or whatever it is. It's still called tweets. Others, I think Truth Social may very well have truths or whatever it is, even though they're all lies. But on Blue Sky, did you know that if you post something on Blue Sky, did you know what it's called? It's called a skeet. Man, Lil Jon is going to have a field day with that one. Skeet, skeet, skeet. Yeah, maybe they should have double thunk that before saying, we're going to call this a skeet. Oh my. Yeah. Sounds like one of our friends' date nights from Grindr. Anyway. Orvilby, hello, Orvilby over on the Twitch chat, and Aaron over there as well. Shouts out to Aaron, Steve, Wesley, Mac, actually I say Steve from across the pond, Peter, Jeff, Big Hook, Josh, Jackie, Dean, Super Saint. Who dat? If you're a Saint fan. Oh yeah, you are. There you go, Super Saint. Who dat? Perfect. I was assuming you were a Saints fan, and there I got to the second message with the who dat. Who dat indeed. Who dat say they're going to beat them Saints? Not them dirty birds, that's for sure. We snapped our losing streak last Sunday, thanks to some great defensive play and of course the Falcons choking as they typically do. I don't know. My wife told me it was called a skeet, so I don't know. Maybe she read something wrong, but I listened to my wife, so it is what it is, right? Good to see you, Robin, Mountain Lady. Thank you for joining. Remember to smash that like button, even if you're doing some lurking. Kevin Anderson, good to see you, Kevin. If I've missed anybody, I don't think I've missed anybody, but if I missed anybody, I do apologize, and I'll try and swing back around to you later. Thank you, Trucker John, for showing your. See, I'm very new to Blue Sky, and well, I still haven't gotten to the point where I'm actually sharing stuff on there. I didn't even share on Twitter. Good to see you, Trucker John. Thank you for sharing the stream, by the way. But yeah, so even if it's not called Skeet, I think it should be. I'm just making it funny. So, yeah. What else to talk about before we get to our main subjects that we want to talk about? We already discussed the Blog Talk Radio dying. Again, if you're listening, if you're new and you're listening on Blog Talk Radio, please make sure to follow me other ways. Liberal Dan Radio on Blue Sky, all one word. Liberal Dan Radio, Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, Facebook, etc. All the other ways, and hopefully we'll have ways for you to call in as well. I do believe is this Khalil?
Hey, how you doing?
I'm doing all right. You heard the news about Blog Talk Radio kicking the bucket in January?
No, I didn't hear about that.
Yeah, I got it on my page, on my main page that started in sometime in January. Blog Talk Radio is going away. So if you're going to call in, I'm going to be implementing a Google Voice number at some point, but if you're going to call in, I'll have to make sure you get the Google Voice. Remember, email me at liberaldanradio@gmail.com, and when I get that Google Voice number, I'll go ahead and let you know. But Blog Talk Radio is going away. Via con Dios.
Oh, man.
Yeah, it's crazy. I was shocked. I was a little bit shocked when I saw it. It's not completely shocked because of all the technical difficulties we've had in the last year, but it happens. So how have you been, Khalil? What's going on? I don't think we've spoken since the election. So, what are your thoughts on what went on?
It's a shame that he won, and I'm a little nervous. Not as nervous as I would be as a natural disaster, but he's just, I don't know. A lot of the people that voted for him just only see one part of the Constitution.
Yeah.
And basically, I also I'm about to go to Cary, North Carolina in New Year, and I'm hoping I enjoy myself.
I hope so too.
But yeah. Also, I was wondering if do you have anybody in your family that's studying like military or law enforcement on the federal side?
I don't know if anybody on my family. I do have several lawyers in my family, but I don't believe they've covered that part of the law. Why? What's up?
Because there was a person that's a waiter in my town, and they're studying to become an FBI, but they don't have law enforcement or military training. And I was wondering if when you don't have that training, if you go straight to the academy, or if you go to college and then go to the academy after that. I mean, while you're in college, I don't know how that works.
I'm not sure either, but I mean, if you shoot me an email about it, again, liberaldanradio@gmail.com, and I can maybe try and look that up for you. Where did you say you were going in North Carolina? My friend Aaron, who lives in North Carolina, wanted to know.
Cary.
Cary, like Carry or Kerry?
Cary.
Cary. Okay, Cary, like Cary Elways, like from Princess Bride.
Yep.
Perfect. Okay. Shouts out to Teresa. Thank you for joining us, Teresa, in the chat. Appreciate you. And Kelly, I think Kelly is popped on. I think I said hello to Kelly or Matt. Thank you all. Matt from Pennsylvania, good to see you. Thank you for joining. Remember to smash that like button and also subscribe to the channel if you're not already done so. Aaron lives right next to Cary. There you go. So you'll be in the neighborhood of one of my mods. So there you go.
Well,
hey, Jolie, the other half of the mod squad is here as well. Welcome, Jolie. Thank you for joining us. Big hugs to Jolie as well. Anyway, so anything else you want to chat about before we move on to the other topics?
Do you know anything? One of the things I noticed is I also went to Chick-fil-A, and no, not Chick-fil-A. I went to Amtrak. Did I tell you about Amtrak? Oh, well, I was telling you that they have detectives and stuff like that at Amtrak. They have their own police force, and one of the when I was getting sick, one of the people that was working in Amtrak, just one or two times I was there. The first time I was sick, the second time I wasn't. I only saw them twice at Amtrak, but they had numbers on their radio. It was just strange. So I only saw them at Amtrak only twice.
Huh, that's weird.
Yeah, and they were in the station. They weren't on the train, but basically they were in like regular station attendant uniform. So I didn't see a gun or a badge, but I noticed that someone said the police is here when they went outside. And there was no detective car or patrol car. So that was weird. And basically when they had the radio, they had something on it so where they could dial a number.
That's kind of weird.
Yeah. And they had the Men in Black style sunglasses like the ones from the first one, except they were a little bit polarized and brown. Interesting. Yep.
It's always interesting. I'm always interested in like the fact that we have. I mean, people talk about how government maybe needs to downsize, especially like the Republicans will talk about Republicans, how the government needs to be shrunk or whatever, and they tend to do it on like a every case basis when that's not necessarily needed. But there are some things that maybe could be streamlined, and the fact that we have like umpteen million different types of police forces for like traveling, like there's TSA agents, there's the Amtrak agents, there's all like maybe we could streamline that and make that more efficient. Maybe that might be an efficiency that could be improved on in government, and because when you had the more things you have to shuffle around, the more heads of departments that you have to keep track of, the more difficult it could be. I liken it to what's going on in New Orleans and other places that have implemented full charter schools. Well, I think in New Orleans we actually have one school that's no longer charter, that's back in the public school arena. But the thing is that with the public schools, with them being all charter schools and being ran by different charter organizations, you end up having all these little boards that all have to be audited, all these little heads of these little of their own little boards that have to be audited on top of the school board needing to be audited. It just makes a paperwork hassle when you could really just streamline the process and get rid of all that crap, make some magnet schools and improve it. So
that's why when it comes to gun control, I don't respect a lot of anti-gun control people or the people that deflect, because they don't support gun control until it's harmful, which you can't support something that's harmful and be against something that's helpful. Or they see people who are like that and they don't want to talk about it. Those are the people who oppose gun control I really am against, because they're selfish people. You deflect or you see something that's harmful and you support it when it's racist or stuff like that.
Right.
You're part of the problem.
Well, a lot of the people who oppose gun control love stop and frisk. And stop and frisk, when implemented in like New York, for example, 95% of the time it targeted black people and Latino people. It was pure racial profiling. And conservatives love stop and frisk when they're stopping and frisking black people. Now, if they would stop and frisk white conservatives at the same commensurate rate as they are compared to the overall population as they did for black and brown people, I'm sure conservatives wouldn't like it, but they know it's not going to be used against them because blackness is seen as a weapon, and people are going to be discriminatory, especially when it comes to law enforcement. As the song said, some of those that work forces are the same that burn crosses. And I love when conservatives realize the fact that all of this time they've been singing along with the song that basically is saying F you to them as well as to the people in power who embrace both, who embrace white supremacy.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like one more thing. It's like basically too many people. I was telling this guy. I don't know if I told you. He said he doesn't believe in having gun control for mentally ill people, but he said he thinks that they should ban Muslims from it. And I said, when you people go against gun control when it's harmful, when it's helpful, but you support it when it's harmful, I said, I have to question why you're against it. And he stopped and he realized he was wrong. But
Yep.
he was one of the ones that realized he was wrong. And that's what I said, because I was frustrated.
And that's a good thing when people can actually realize the fact that they made a mistake. Unfortunately, for a lot of people, especially after today, for a lot of people, I think there might be a lot of people going, what the hell did I do? I'm wondering how many people are wondering with all of these nominations that took place today. I'm wondering how if there are going to be people that are going to be like, I made the biggest mistake in my vote. I made a terrible mistake in my vote. Now that we've seen all who Donald Trump has so far nominated to positions of power in this country, and we'll be talking about that in a few minutes. So, anything else before I let you go?
Yeah, and he was good, and because once someone starts deflecting on something, that's when I stop talking to them. I'm not saying don't talk to me, but I just lose respect for you.
Right.
Because when I was talking to the guy about gun control, I said if we can ban liberals, Muslims, and police from certain arms, we can have gun control. And he said, well, only thing he said was if we ban guns, then only the criminals. And I just stopped talking to him. And I'm like,
right.
you're such a selfish. That's how mad I got. I don't
and part
that.
of gun control is simply just doing universal background checks. That's something that like 85 to 90% of all Americans support, and even like 80% of gun owners, 80 to 85% of gun owners support universal background checks, getting rid of every loophole when it comes to checking the background of somebody, when it comes to changing the ownership of a firearm or any sort of other, gun type weapon from one person to the other. Problem is that, again, all of these Republican politicians are beholden to the NRA, and like idiots like Lawrence O'Donnell on MSNBC might say, oh, well, the Republicans are going to know that these people want gun control and therefore they're going to cave and support them. No, they're not, because the Republican politicians know that enough of the Republicans who might support universal background checks do not support them enough to say, if you don't support universal background checks, we're going to vote you out, even if it means voting for a Democrat. They're always going to vote for a Republican. They just would like to see universal background checks. But again, it's not important enough to them to put their foot down and say universal background checks or else. So that's why I got so frustrated at Lawrence O'Donnell when he did his thing about the abortion and 57% supporting abortion rights in Florida. There's no way that Rick Scott or I'll say Matt Gaetz or Governor DeSantis. There's no way that any of them are going to give a rat's ass as to whether or not there's a large constituency in their state that supports abortion rights, because they know that at least 8% of the overall electorate, the 8% that voted maybe for Trump and for abortion rights, are not going to switch to Democrat, because they don't think abortion is that important enough to them to actually put their foot down and say no Republicans. So,
and in my opinion, they feel the Republicans that are against gun control when it benefits them, they know that they're going to have people deflecting attention, so that's why they're bold to continue to be wishy-washy.
Yep.
And that's why I say I'm putting my foot down with people who deflect attention. I'm either hanging up on them on the phone, or I'm just going to correct them. If they get defensive, I'm just leaving them alone. And if you get defensive after you're deflecting, that's when I get kind of nasty with the person.
I don't blame you. I mean, people to start deflecting, understand that they understand that they're in the wrong, but they don't want to admit it. That's often the problem with the people who are deflectors. They understand that you just made a good point, but then they'll pivot to something else because they don't want to actually address the point that you made, because it somehow harms their worldview, and it means that they have to say that they were wrong. And admitting that you were wrong, especially amongst the MAGA folks, is a cardinal sin or a venial sin or whatever type of sin it is. That's the worst type of sin. That's the type of sin it is. So
yeah, I'll talk to you later. I appreciate talking with you.
I appreciate talking to you as well. And again, RIP Blog Talk Radio in January. We'll be finding a new number, and I'll make sure that it's, we will announce it during the show. I won't necessarily publish it every time, because I need to figure out, most important thing is I need to figure out how to make sure that people can only call it in particular times when I want them to, and not all the time. So, or maybe just allow them to leave voicemails. But again, even if they leave voicemails, I don't necessarily want to have my thing swamped with voicemails, with people calling me like, oh, you're a fat liberal, ha ha ha. So, because I know that'll happen. Anyway, thank you so much, Khalil. You have a good time when you head down to, I know you said it was end of year for Cary, North Carolina, but otherwise, yeah, you have a good one, and I'll talk to you later, man.
All right, thank you.
All right, bye-bye. Again, Khalil, friend of the show. Wouldn't have Khalil if it wasn't for Blog Talk Radio, but, we will find ways to keep Khalil on the show even when Blog Talk Radio goes bye-bye. Because, again, if you missed it in the beginning of the show, I got a notification on Blog Talk Radio that sometime in mid-January, I think it was January 25th, but sometime mid-January, Blog Talk Radio is going away, and no, there will be no more streaming onto the Blog Talk Radio platform. We will find ways to maintain the ability to call in. I don't know what that would mean for people like Brother Michael from overseas, but we will find out how it will work, and we will make sure that we can get, even if it means hooking up video chat and having it do that way if he wants to come in. Josh, I'll call you drunk at 3 a.m. That will definitely go on the podcast. I don't care what it says. We're going to be like, Josh's 3 a.m. drunk text. That'll be a new bit of Liberal Dan Radio that you could probably, we'll get somebody to sponsor it. Anyway, Surrender Monkey, good to see you. Janelle, Big Hook, nobody, we're not tired or upset or anything with your phone calls. You could always call in whenever. It's fine. I mean, I don't know how much new there might, I mean, there's plenty new today, but we're going to talk about what the new stuff is today in a second. Let's see. Just scroll back up and see anything that I missed. Wesley, Matt Gaetz is goofy. Gosh, don't insult Goofy like that. Yuck. Sorry. Oh boy. I could do several Disney impressions, I suppose. Hey, Roxanne, good to see you as well. Is that, all right, Super Saint, is that you at 254? You said I'm going to call in, so let's see. Let's bring you live. Is that you, Super Saint?
Yes, it is.
How are you today?
I'm in the fascist. I'm hanging in there. It's really strange because I told everyone I could about, Project 2025, and I happen to be in a MAGA family.
Right.
So, but nobody seemed to believe me. They were just like, oh, then none of that's going to happen.
Yep.
And they didn't take me seriously at all. But, I know a lot of people are concerned because of healthcare and stuff like that. And, I happen to have a pain pump. Mm-hmm. And so, one of the things with a pain pump is, you have to have it filled.
Right.
But, part of my medication relies on Medicaid to get my medication. Mm-hmm. So, it's one of those things where, I kind of hoping that they're as, just as terrible as they were last time, where they just couldn't seem to get anything done. But, I'm hoping that they're just as buffoonery as they were last time. But, and I even tried to tell my family, if you vote for this person, you're basically voting against all my interests, disability, housing, food, disability, basically everything that I have. And
Right.
they just did not believe at all that any of this stuff was true. And, it's a cult.
Absolutely, it
It's
is a
about
cult. I mean, I was sitting
Yeah,
there
and
on my Facebook page. I was basically thanking everybody who voted for Donald Trump for putting my student loan payments at risk, i.e., making them potentially higher. Because under the SAVE plan, Joe Biden's SAVE plan saved me
Yes.
$250 a month on student loan payments, and
Yes.
the SAVE plan has student loan as the repayment down to 5% of your discretionary income, whereas Donald Trump has not only said that he wants to allow, I guess, the SAVE plan to go bye-bye when it comes to, the court cases or whatever. He's not going to defend the SAVE plan, I'm sure, when it comes around. And if the case isn't won by the end of Biden's term, I'm sure he's not going to continue to defend the SAVE plan in court, which means the SAVE plan will just probably wither away and die. And I don't know what that means for me, someone who is already under the SAVE plan. But I've seen where Donald Trump has said he wants it to go up to 12.5%.
Right.
And that's part of Project 2025 as well. And, that's going to be terrible for me and my family, and because we've made financial decisions based off of Joe Biden's plans for that. And, I mean, money spent on that is money we can't spend on things like health issues and stuff like that. Someone just announced today that the Blue Cross Blue Shield in Louisiana has just announced they're not going to be covering weight loss medication. And I have Blue Cross Blue Shield through my employer, and I just started weight loss shots, so I need to check their formulary to make sure that it's still going to be on there. Otherwise, I'm going to, the progress that I've made minimally on this medication is just going to be all for naught, because once you get off those drugs, or I have to come out of pocket for them, which is going to be even worse, because I have to pay for even more money for my health care, which sucks. And then, of course, we don't have John McCain and enough centrist Republicans to come in and save the day and stop Trump from killing the Affordable Care Act like he did the last time.
Yes. Have you ever heard of Dr. Stephen Hassan, the cult expert and hypnosis expert? He's a mental health professional, but he wrote The Cult of Trump and Freedom of Mind.
Yes, I have heard of. I didn't read the book, but I have heard of him. Yes.
I haven't read the book, but he does. He actually has. He has a freedomofmind.com, and he talks about the brain hack. He used to be in the Moonies when he was in college, but he talks about the nephew of Sigmund Freud. In 1928, he wrote a book called Propaganda. His name's Edward Bernays, and this book Propaganda, it basically, it's kind of like a blueprint of how to mind hack in a way. And the day after the election, he was talking about how on YouTube he was talking about how this propaganda is kind of similar to what this book Propaganda is kind of what Trump has been using to, basically cultivate his cult into thinking that he can solve everything in 24 hours and all this bull. And he was talking about how Dr. Hassan said that he had talked to someone in the CIA regarding the MK Ultra and how the CIA uses like hypnosis as a powerful weapon. And he was talking about before the 2016 election that they had actually offered this algorithm to how it can take different words on social media, and like if they're religious or if they've recovered from any type of addiction, or and it can pinpoint these different words, and it can the algorithm can pinpoint these people and use these to actually put these propaganda type things into their feed and manipulate them, and Hillary said that she didn't want to buy that, and
Right.
Trump's campaign said they did. And what it can do is it can put subliminal messages into their social media, and they actually were able to kind of cultivate these voters from it. And he was explaining the day after the election on his how he Trump spent money to use this algorithm where he was able to pick and choose these certain types of people and just like flood the zone,
Right.
and use these subliminal messages and cultivate these certain people. And I was just fascinated by but anyway, Dr. Hassan's a hypnosis expert, and he was explaining it kind of like when you go to see like a hypnosis person, kind of like and you can bring people on stage and you say a certain word under hypnosis, and you can say, well, you're going to cluck like a chicken when you hear the word like balloon. And
Right.
then you put them back into the audience, and 30 minutes later you say balloon, and all of a sudden they jump up and start clucking like a chicken. And he said it's kind of like that, and he said that you can actually have someone that truly believes in everything like Harris is offering, and then they go into the voting booth, and all of a sudden, without them realizing it, they sit there and they vote for Trump. And I was just going, what? Yeah, I was just blown away. He said that these subliminal messages, and you realize that Trump had all this money that he spent only on ads.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and here Harris had all these headquarters all over the place and was putting all this groundwork in and all these phone calls and texts and stuff. And it just makes me wonder if all these ads and stuff, I wonder if they had these subliminal messages, because there's a gentleman that I forget, he's on Midas Touch, but anyway, he would hunt these neo-Nazis. And I forget what his name is. It's Chris something. He's bald-headed with a long beard. But anyway, he would infiltrate these extremist groups, and he would find them on social media, but they would have all these subliminal messages. Yes.
Okay.
Yes. What was his last name again?
Goldsmith.
Yes, that's him. Anyway, he was talking about how they can radicalize people because they have all these subliminal messages. But anyway, Dr. Hassan was explaining the same thing can happen with these types of hypnotic things in subliminal messages. And it made me think of how Trump spent all this money only on his ads. And he had all these ads on like the NFL, in between NFL games and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And it just makes me wonder, if he spent that in 2015, who's to say that he didn't do that this time, where all he did was spend money on ads? I think too much, obviously. I'm sorry.
No, I mean, if I'm wondering if true, like I'm wondering like if people can really be affected. Though I wonder if there are a certain type of people that are more susceptible to such things than other ones, because I know I personally saw the Trump NFL ads. I've seen advertising on sign. I probably tweet. I tweet and post about Donald Trump so much. I'm sure that they're gonna that I'm sure I got some of those targeted ads, but I still voted for Harris in the voting booth. So maybe it's part of those poorly educated that Donald Trump said that he loved after the 2016 Nevada primaries.
Well, and it's not only that, but it's like educated people. Like my mom's a recovering alcoholic. She's been sober for 35 years. But she's a very intelligent woman too. She's got a 4-year degree and everything, and she worked in the science field, and all of a sudden she was telling me, that Fauci needed to be hanged, and I was just like, what? And it just really threw me off, because I was just like, my mom is very, she was in the science field,
right?
And for her to say something that crazy, it just blew my mind, because she's a very intelligent person. And for her to just go to that extreme was very shocking to me. And then she was very anti-vax, but yet her mom lived to 101, and her mom, she made sure that she got the vaccine and everything.
Right.
And it just blew my mind because it was such an extreme radicalization. And it's like I didn't recognize my mom anymore.
Well,
You
I
know,
had
so
there was somebody I used to work with back in 2004 when I ran for Congress, and I worked at a hospital,
Mhm.
and this individual was the charge nurse on the fourth floor in the hospital that I worked at. I still remember the floor even,
Mhm.
and we'd always have all sorts of conversations when I'd be up there doing my work because I'd have to go from nursing station to nursing station, dropping off lab reports because we weren't high tech yet. And so,
Mhm.
and then so I told her, hey, I'm running for Congress. Here's my website, and here's everything like this, and I would love to have your support if you would consider voting for me. And her response, the response of this, who I thought was an extremely intelligent person who clearly is doing
Mhm.
everything right with her life, was like, I have to vote for who the Republican Party tells me to vote for. I'm like, what?
It's crazy.
No, vote for you.
It's
Vote on for who
crazy.
you want to vote for, and who they don't control
Yeah.
you. It's again, but it was, some of it was already a cult back then, but it's just
Yes.
it's just a shame that these people are just so.
Yeah.
I mean, part of it is religion.
Mindless.
Part of it they're made to think that
Right.
if you vote for somebody who's pro-choice, you're a sinner, not